In this video, you're going to see me take a different approach to actually creating something. So previously, I had done everything beforehand and I was working from a separate project file and just kind of doing it again. But in this one, I'm going to go ahead and create an enemy pretty much from scratch. I have made one component already, which is the bomb that he's going to throw. But for the most part, we're going to make this enemy from scratch, add all the code from scratch. You'll see all the errors that I go through and how I troubleshoot it. This video may end up being longer because of that, and we'll see how we go. Hopefully I don't come across any major issues and have to fully restart, but if I do, it just means I'll be better prepared for it next time. So this enemy is going to be just a simple goblin that throws bombs. There is a sprite for that available in here, so we can use that sprite. I have gone ahead and made the bomb because I wasn't 100% sure how I could do it. Actually, I'm not 100% sure how to do the enemy in here. I'm going to try a few different things. But this is what the bomb looks like. So if I just go back to here, I'll just reset this back to 0, 0. And if I zoom in on this, you'll see what the bomb looks like. So it took a little while to do this. It actually took me probably about 25 minutes just to make this bit here. So I've got a rigid body and I've got a sprite attached to it. And I've got an animation player. I've got a damage area. So this is the area that the player will take damage in with a collision shape on it. It's a circle. And I've got a collision shape for the bomb down here. And I'm just going to turn off the damage area for now. You'll be able to see that this is the bomb down here. I will just make this the default sprite. So this here, if I turn off the collision shape for that, is the sprite. For the most part, this is pretty straightforward. The animation player is where it gets a little bit confusing. Because the sprites were different shapes and sizes, I had to keyframe in different things here. Now, the way I've seen some of my students do it is they actually have multiple sprites which they hide and show, rather than have to kind of keyframe everything. And that is another possible way of doing it. I'm not sure which is more efficient. I've never really done any kind of tests there. But the animation player, I'll show you the animation player for the thrown animation. So there's going to be 3 animations for this. One is when it's thrown, one is when it's kind of on the ground, and then the explode animation there. So the thrown animation looks like this. I'll show you what things I keyframed, and they're pretty much all on the sprite. So I had to keyframe the texture. So I keyframed that. I keyframed the actual frames. So they're over. There's only 2 of them, 1, 2. It just kind of makes the little fuse go bigger and smaller. I keyframed the horizontal frames here because that's going to change when I change the sprite. And I also keyframed the position down here. So I made it 0, -1, just so I didn't have to move around the actual rigid body collision, just like that. So that was that one. But then for the on-ground explosion, I had to keyframe the texture, because that texture changed, of course, but the H frames went up to 8 from 3. So I keyframed that. And I'm doing all this on the first frame. And of course I keyframe the individual frames. There's 7 of them. And then the position, which was 0, -1. And here's where it got a little bit weird, because when I put this explosion in, you can see the sprite is a lot bigger. So again, I keyframe the textures, the horizontal frames, the frames itself. There are 10 of them exactly, and the position was a lot different. So what I tried to do was center put the bottom of the sprite at the bottom of the rigid body, so that when it's kind of sitting there, it's upright. Now this rigid body I may have to lock. There is a way that I can. I'll have to do it in code probably, and I'll figure that out later, because what I'm going to find is this rigid body, which I just kind of want it to bounce and be a little bit random. This rigid body will rotate, and the sprite will rotate with it, which I don't actually want to do. So I'm going to make some changes later on to that. So let's go ahead, and that's our bomb done. I did put a little bit of code on it, but I'll come back to that later because it's not 100% that it's going to work. And let's start with our enemy. Now, our enemy is going to be a kinematic body. So we're going to go ahead and look for kinematic body 2D. And I'm going to call it Goblin Enemy. It's a good idea to put keywords and things in here, because then when I go and save it, I'm going to save this scene as goblin enemy. If I search now in down here for enemy, it shows up. So I can put things in there and then search for it, because I've got quite a few different sprites. Now I'm going to put in a sprite. And of course I'm going to need an animation player. And I'll also need a collision body. So these things are pretty straightforward. We'll get the sprite in there first. So let's go ahead and look for, I think it's called Goblin. It's a bomber goblin, and I just want the sprite sheet. I'm going to select that sprite and throw that up into there. Now this here, animation, he has 6 horizontal frames. Let's make sure he's got a walk animation on there. Does he have a walk animation? He doesn't have a walk animation. That's okay, I guess. Maybe this one has a walk animation. He's got a knife. Just delete that. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Meant to delete that one. I'm not sure if that's meant to be a walk animation there. Doesn't really look like it. It just more looks like an idle animation. Anyway, all right, this guy's just going to be standing still then. That kind of makes it easier, especially with placement in the level. I'll do a moving animation afterwards of a different kind of enemy. I'm pretty sure I could probably find one. May end up being another video. Let's go ahead, and we've got this sprite. So let's go ahead and go 6 horizontal frames and 4 vertical frames. I'm going to make a few animations. So I've got animation new. Excuse me. And I'm just going to say idle. And I'll make a new animation, which is going to be throw bomb. So I've got those 2 animations there. I'll go back to idle and make that the auto play one. And let's just throw that idle animation in. So it looks like, I'm not sure why it's got like a random head there. This one. I'm going to keyframe that. And I know it's only 4 frames. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll go 0.4 and set that to loop. And that's, oh yeah, you can see that, good. I'll just bring that up a little bit. So 4 frames and that's set to loop. And if I play that, there's the idle animation. It's definitely not a walk animation. And let's go ahead and add the throw animation. So this one's pretty simple. It looks like it's 6 frames, but we'll go back. Frame 0, keyframe that. Annoying, remember just to hit that down arrow and then you can hit the other ones. All right, so that's 6 frames, 0.6. I don't want that one to be on loop. And I will, there we go. All right, now what I did notice is that the bomb sprite that he's holding and the actual one that he throws are different colors, which is going to annoy me, but I'm going to be, I think I'll get over it. Now this collision shape, I'm going to set it to a rectangle. I'm actually not going to have a collision shape with this because I just realized since he's not moving, I don't need to worry about anything. I'm just going to change this to an area 2D. And the collision shape is going to be, I will need a collision shape, my apologies. The collision shape is going to be a rectangle. Make it like that and move it so it covers his feet. And this area node, I'm going to add groups. I'm going to make it deadly. So you can't walk into the goblin and you will not be able to walk into his bomb explosion area either. Oh, going back to the bomb, there was one other thing that I didn't actually explain. I will put this in the deadly node, our deadly group. The animation player for explosion, I actually turned off monitoring for the area until this frame here. Then monitoring goes on, and then that frame monitoring goes off. So during this time, if you enter that area, it will, destroy you. But if you enter it at this frame or afterwards or slightly before or exit before that turns on, then you won't get any damage. So you can keyframe loads of things down the bottom here. Pretty much anything that you see one of these little keys next to, you can keyframe. You could even keyframe the edited description for some reason. Okay, so I've got my goblin enemy happening here. I'm going to add a timer. So this timer, I'm going to use an auto start timer. I'm going to say every 2 point, I'll just say 2 for now. And that's going to just keep on kind of ticking over. So I need some script. I need a bit of code on here. So let's add this, and this is going to be goblin enemy code. Timer, node, signals. When it times out, connect to that. When it times out, we're going to say throw bomb. And I'll have a function here called throw bomb. I'm going to rename that so it's not named like a class, like that. All right, at the top here, we're going to onReady var bomb equals preload, and I'm going to get the bomb scene. Should be in res. Oops. Well, we can just do it over here. So I can type bomb, get the scene, copy the path, and then paste it inside that up there. So we've got a bomb. All right, now this here, I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to need to add in another a position 2D. I think we want to know where we want the bomb to launch from. Let's go ahead, and I think we want it about here, but we'll go through our animation player, look at throw bomb, and skip to that scene there, that part there. And in this, we're going to make another function. I'll show you how this works, because we don't want to just create a bomb as soon as the animation starts, because he's going to hold it in his hand. We don't want it to create until it's at this frame and we can see that it's kind of gone. So let's go ahead back into our code, and this is going to be I'm going to make a function, delete all this junk, func create new bomb, pass. So back to our animation player. Down here, we can add a track. We can call a method. We're going to call a method on this one. And so we've got the functions in. We can right click, insert key, and say, should be one called create bomb, except I haven't saved the script yet. So now I can insert key, create new bomb. So at that frame, it's going to create a new bomb. I don't need to worry about calling it in here. I will still call this, because this one is going to say $animation player dot play throw bomb, and then we're going to yield $animation player until the animation is finished, not changed. And then when that's done, we'll say $animation player dot play idle. Now this animation here, I'm going to turn that timer probably up to 3 seconds and just leave that. So if I test this now, let's go ahead and just test it. Nothing's actually going to happen. Well, it will, stuff will happen, but I'm just going to move this goblin enemy down here. I'm going to make him gigantic for now. So I'm going to turn this scale up just so I can kind of see that things are working. So let's turn the scale up to 10 and 10. Did I just make it 1,000? No, 110. Okay. So if I hit play on this goblin enemy, hopefully it doesn't crash. The music's going to be really loud. And then just make sure it loops. There we go. Okay, so if you couldn't hear me over the sound of the volume then, what it was doing was every few seconds it was throwing the bomb. It was actually running that animation. And let's just test to see that the code is working here. So if I just go ahead and say print create new bomb, when it gets to that frame, it should say down the bottom here, I'm pointing at the screen. I do this every time. You can't see me. You can't see me pointing at the screen. But if I play this scene, you should see it say create new bomb down the bottom. And there it goes. Okay. So we got that working. Let's go ahead and actually make it create that bomb. So we've got the position 2D. That's where we want to create it at. So we'll say var new bomb equals bomb.instance. And then we're going to say, now for this one, just for testing, we're going to add it as a child here. But normally we'll see how this goes. New bomb dot position or global position equals $sign position 2D dot global position. All right, and then we're going to say, normally we would say owner dot add child and or add child new bomb. However, this won't have an owner because it is the root scene when we're testing it. So we're just going to say add child new bomb. Let's just see what happens. I'm going to remove this script. We're just going to edit this script here out for now, just so we can see whether the bomb actually appears. And I'll show you that script in a minute. So let's go ahead. There should be a bomb appear here. It didn't appear. Why did it not appear? Okay. This is where things, well, it may have appeared. Let's just print this. Let's do something in here. Print bomb has arrived. Let's see if it actually did come into the scene. And if so, we might end up having to print its position. Okay, so it has appeared somewhere, but where? You'll notice that my background is black. I changed that. I can't remember where. I'll just quickly, it might be in here in the display window. No, rendering. Config run. Oh, where would it be? I can't remember. Maybe it's not in there. Maybe it's in. I'm pretty sure it's in there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter now. Okay, so let's figure out why this is not coming in. So let's go ahead and print its position. Print position and global position, which might give us an idea of where it actually is. Oh, actually, I think I know. Oh no, I have reset that back to the top left, so that's good. I thought I might have moved it down here for testing, but I haven't. And that's global position is right there. Let's just turn the scale down on this guy. It's back to 1. It may be that it's actually behind the massive sprite. There's going to be a very tiny sprite now. Pretty tiny. Okay, so it's appearing down here. It is falling because it's a rigid body. So let's see, I wonder why that would be doing that. Global position. Oh, okay, I do know why. And it's because I'm adding it as a child of this. So I'm just going to create a test scene, 2D scene here. And this is going to be a test scene. I'll just save this as test scene in here. And I'm going to bring my goblin enemy in. Goblin enemy, I'll bring him in here. And let's go ahead and just move him back to the center. So we'll just go 0, 0, back up to there. And we'll delete him from here and re-add him. Save it first. Re-add him. There he is. Okay, so now I'll move him down here. Just move him around the scene. And I'm going to go and edit that code and actually put in the owner dot. So it's going to add it to the scene rather than as a child of here. So what it was doing, it was changing its position, adding it to a child of this, but then it gets the offset from the parent as well. And it just wasn't working right. So I'll turn the scale up on this one again. No, the scale of the bomb won't matter. So let's just you're gonna have to squint. You have to get him real close. But the bomb should appear in his hand at the end. So looking right there. It did. Okay, cool. All right, so from here we can go and I'm gonna add some code in here. And then we'll test it in the game. So I can get rid of these print statements. What I want to do, because it's a rigid body, I can apply a central impulse. So this central impulse, it's like a force that happens right at the start and then never again. So if you think of like throwing a shot put or throwing a basketball or any kind of ball, really, the force that's applied to it is when you let go at that moment, and that force is applied to the ball. And then it slowly loses that kinetic energy as it goes forward. So that's what we're doing. We're applying a force to it right at the start, and it will slowly lose that kinetic energy. So what I've done, and I don't really want to go into vectors again, but I'm going to apply a vector of roughly 45 degrees. So kind of that way. And it's just going to go that way. So 1 unit by 1 unit, or -1 unit in this case, and multiply that by 40 strength, whatever. That's just an arbitrary number that you can play around with. So let's go ahead and put this into the world. I'm going to put my goblin into the world. Oh no, it's frozen. Everything's frozen. Okay, there we go. All right, 2D. Put my goblin enemy in. Now my little guy, where is he? He's up the top there. Let's just put a goblin enemy here. Zoom in. He's standing on the platform. Yep. And I'm going to put another one. Just duplicate him. I'm going to put another one. Oh no. What have I done? Oh, please don't crash now. Okay. We'll put another one right here. Just so we can see it at the start. So if I hit play now, again, sorry if the music is, I don't think it's picking up desktop audio. I've got it muted over here, so you're probably hearing it maybe a little bit through the speakers, through the microphone, because it's pretty loud out of my headphones. I'm not sure why this has taken so long. Okay, hasn't been doing that. All right. Okay, cool. I just want to restart that. I seem to be getting a few issues. It may be all my torrents that I'm downloading that are causing stuff to happen, or this tree size thing. So let's just close that off. What else have I got running down the bottom here? Let's get rid of all my torrents. Let's close that, exit that. Let's go. See, that maybe help fix a few things, at least the lag. Okay, now the bomb doesn't actually explode, so we need a timer for that to happen. I realized, like I said, this video is going to be a little bit longer, but I'm not going to worry about the time. I'm not going to look at that. We're just going to get on with it. So this bomb is going to need a timer. Timer. Create. Okay. I'm going to make it say 3. And then we're going to link it to the timeout. So this goes here. Okay, so func warning. We're going to have a warning, and then we're going to have func explode. All right, so warning. This timer is going to be auto start 1 shot. We only want it to happen once. And then this warning bit is going to say, oops, $animation player dot play, and we're going to say on ground. Originally, I was going to make it kind of do it when it's on the ground, but that's going to require a little bit of fiddling around with collisions and stuff, so I'm not worried about it. Instead, it's just going to play on the ground. And then explode is going to be $animation player dot play explode. Now with both of these, we're going to use yield $animation player animation finished, and then this one is going to be queue free, but this one is going to have yield $animation player this one is going to say do the explode function. And then when the timer is run out, we're going to go warning. Okay, so now we should be able to test this. Should be able to test this world. Okay, and those little goblins should throw a bomb. And then it explodes. Now you do notice that there is an issue there in that the sprite rotates upwards. So what we're going to do is, instead of doing anything really weird and locking it to that, because it kind of looks cool how the bomb rolls along, instead when it explodes, we're going to set rotation degrees equals 0. And that will just set it up. So hopefully, if we play this scene, no, that didn't change it. Probably because the rigid body, we might need to, let me think, how could we do this? Rotation equals 0. Let's, because I don't think there is, this is the, yeah, this is that. Okay, I don't think there is a way to lock this. We go rotation degree. Let's just print out the rotation degrees instead and see what happens. So we'll print that in the process function, physics process. Print rotation degrees. What have I done? Underscore. Okay, let's see. I just want to make sure that's actually rotating. It should just print a whole lot of numbers down here. Yeah, okay, so cool. All right, so it is rotating. That's all right. We can change that value. So what I'm going to do here is say var exploding equals false. And then in here, if exploding rotation degrees equals 0. Then down here, we'll say exploding equals true. Because I realized that if I set rotation degrees to 0 here, it will reset it back to 0, but only once. And then the rigid body will kind of take over. So we should be able to do this. Now it's probably going to keep moving, but I may be able to play around with something in here for the last few minutes. But you can just kind of experiment now and see what happens. Hopefully this works. Yep, so there we go. But the explosion still moves, so we need to set the velocity to 0. So I think that's going to be linear velocity equals vector 2.0. Actually, I wonder if I can do it this way. If I just, maybe I just taught myself something then. Linear velocity equals vector 2.0. But I can also put in angular velocity equals 0, maybe. Let's have a look and see what the actual angular velocity. Okay, so that's an X and Y and that's a 0. So hopefully that should work. And I may not need to do it the other way. So I may not actually need this bit here. Let's try it. Which would make the code a little bit cleaner. We're not constantly checking something that only happens once. Go back to world. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do a walking enemy in this video. It's already got 30 minutes. Okay, rotating and then boom, except I missed one thing, which was to actually set the rotation degrees equals 0. So let's do all of that like that, and that should bring us to a close. And I'll just test that I actually die to that. Oh, so that's working. Oops. Okay, so I die to that guy. Oh my goodness, I can't even. All right, let's try it. Cool, that did work. Unless I got hit by the spike then. I noticed one thing. I don't want to be able to collide with the bomb. The player to collide with the bomb. So let's go back to here. And I'm going to say down here, the collision. Let's have a look at the player. So the player scene. The player should be on layer 1. Oops, where is it? Collide with layer 1. Collide with layer 1. So let's go to our bomb, our world actually, and see where this stuff is. Collision on layer. I'm going to put it on layer 1 and 2, and for the main world component. Then for the bomb, I'm going to say it's on layer 2, and sorry, it's on layer 1, but it's going to collide with layer 2. So it won't collide with layer 1, but this damage area will still collide with layer 1. So it's going to collide with layer 2, and I'm going to put it on layer 2. Let's go ahead, test it. Last little checks. So I should, whoops, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, those spikes there, I'm just deleting them for the purposes of testing, or maybe altogether, because that's really hard for the first part of the level. So this shouldn't push me anymore. No, it doesn't. But I take damage from it when it gets to that explosion bit. So that's cool. That's all working. And you could play around with these settings here. Now, currently, this guy is only going to throw to the right. If you want him to throw to the left, you could just scale him on the -1 axis. Scale that whole thing on -1. So if I'll make this guy throw to the left. But might add a bit of code here. So at the top, export row vector export. I can never remember how to do this. Vector 2 var throw vector. Yeah, that'll do. That's how it is. And then what I need to do is say we'll add something here. New bomb.throw vector equals throw vector. Actually, let's just make this really simple. Export var facing equals 1, and then equals facing. And then if I open up the bomb script at the top here, I'll just go var facing equals 1, and we'll be able to change that. And then I can, this bit where it gets here, find that, multiplied by facing. Okay, so now if I set facing to -1, he will throw it to the left, or it should throw it to the left. I hope it doesn't. No, we don't want that. We want this multiplied by facing. Otherwise, we'll end up throwing it downwards because it will also multiply that by -1 as well, I think. So anyway, what I'm doing here is if I go back to world and I go and check this guy here, 2D, this one up here, why can't I select him? Goblin enemy, that's that one. Let's just transform him, scale on the x-axis, -1, so that's there. Facing, -1. I'll just show you what happens if I just leave it at 1. It's still going to throw to the right. Oh, I've got a crash. Throw vector. Okay. I know what I did wrong then. That should be facing. Let's run, not that scene, wrong scene. Okay, so we're looking at this guy. See, he threw it to the right. But now if I go into here, select that and say -1. And so what I'm kind of doing here as well is setting up some quality of life stuff for designing a level. Because I don't want to, I don't want to make it so that I have to change or have unique enemies all over the place because I want some to throw to the left, some to the right, etc. I just realized that, oh, that's good. The collisions aren't colliding here. Looked funny before. Yeah, that one. I'm not sure why that happened. Oh, the two rigid bodies collided. That's easy fixed. He's probably throwing them too fast. But I am going to stop there, or I could just troubleshoot for ages. So you have seen pretty much an entire process here of creating an enemy, troubleshooting it, and so on. So generally, don't think that when you see someone doing a tutorial, they're just doing it and they know exactly what they're doing. They're actually going through this whole process. And then what you see on video at the end is the end result of that process, and then them showing you how to get to that end result. What you don't see is all the trial and error in between. And I think sometimes it's helpful to see. So in the next video, I'll do a little moving enemy that can just move backwards and forwards and patrol. I've got the sprites for that as well. I'll probably change this dude's sprite back to the ones that are in the other one as well. So stick around for that. And eventually I'm just going to put this game up for free. I'll finish it out. And I'll make the source code available for a donation or something small, because some people might want to have a look at it, see how I built things, and other things that I've actually done in here that I haven't put on video, that are kind of cool. So I'll leave the video there and pop any comments or questions down below.